Good morning. Welcome to, I'd like to call it an historical event for us because this is our first live incorporating YouTube as well. So we're now going out to the global masses of the universe. We're taking over the galaxies. And I want to take a brief moment to explain what our Unite Lives are for those that have not tuned in before, not have access to the website, etc., and how they've differed as well. So today's episode is all about blending and layering our wonderful products. As I said, I want to explain to you first what our YouTube and Unite Hair Lives are. So I'm Gary Baker. I'm the creative director for Unite Hair, and I come to you on average every 2 weeks on a Monday morning, or be it an afternoon or evening, depending where you are in the world. And I do some tips, tricks. It might be haircuts, it might be styling, it might be product knowledge. We might talk about the next one is the Art of Consultation. A lot of it is designed for the professional hairdresser. But if you're a consumer and you're tuning in, don't let that put you off. There's going to be plenty of stuff in there that hopefully you find interesting, and you won't mind me waffling on for roughly about an hour talking about our marvelous products and how to use them and how professionals use them as well. We've got plenty of lives coming through that you're going to find very, very exciting, including we're up in Fashion Week in New York in a couple of weeks, and we'll be coming live from there as well with an exclusive backstage one for you as well. So it's not only always here in the studio. We are based in Carlsbad in California, beautiful part of the world. So if any of you are elsewhere and you're in what I would say not sort of inclement climes, as it were, my apologies to you if I'm always going to go on about the lovely weather we have here that we're blessed with in Southern California. So without further ado, let's get into today's live and the art of blending and layering products. So there's two types of ways of looking at this, because the ways our products are designed, they can be multifaceted to be used, in so many different ways. But I want to clear up some of those because we have products that go into wet hair, products that go into dry hair as a finish, and we have hybrids. But it's using those in a combination of methods and techniques that enhance your portfolio as a professional when you're dealing with the client behind the chair. So I've got ably assisted by one of my wonderful models. We're going to call her, Debbie, the dolly head for today. And to start off, I want to go through of how I start blending products into the hair and classic usages that I'll use, be it when I was working in the salon, doing session work, or when we go backstage and we're in New York. How we assess hair types, and then how do we feel that the required result and what I need to achieve that is the most important thing. So if I'm working on dry hair, argument's sake, I want to increase the hold in this. Now, I've already put a bit of curling in this mannequin head without any product in it whatsoever. And I'm just going to brush this through just to see how much hold. So we can do like a comparison test of when we're blending. So, there's a little bit of hold in there. We've used a curling wand. Nothing particularly great, but the hair is extremely soft. And this is what you would get if you were doing this, on virgin hair, etc. You might think, right, that's okay, but as we know, clients, stylists, etc., always want a bit of hold. So depending on that hold factor, I'm then going to go into product choice, and then we can start blending and layering the products in accordingly. Now, I've always had a great tip that I like to use for starting off my product choice on dry hair. Now, I'm always going to start with a dry shampoo. Very unusual. Maybe the hair might be clean, but what I'm doing is I'm adding a tooth to the hair. I'm adding some extra grip, but I'm also adding a really nice layer where this really does help for some unknown reason. It just really helps the hair accept product that I'm going to be putting onto the hair. So I'm going to do it on this side only. And this is our U-Dry Plus. It's the second one in our family. We have a U-Dry Clear, and then we have a U-Dry High, which is the volumizing one. So this one's good for like 2-3 day old hair. But as I say, this has been freshly washed, this mannequin, conditioned only, and left. I will say we'll do the comparison. So application-wise, I just spray near the root and take it all the way down the hair shaft. And normally with dry shampoo, you're only going to apply it generally to the root base and then just maybe massage it with your fingers, etc. And that's enough. But I just like to liberally spray it through. Not for the purposes of today of a camera, etc. I'm not going to create any noise. I would like to then blast this through with some cold air with the brush. And that helps me just distribute that product evenly through and just gives a little bit of lift to that root base. So that's one of my #1 tips for using dry shampoo. If you're using it conventionally, or you want to use it like this, a little bit of cold air on the brush, paddle brush, just blast it through, and you'll instantly see your hair jump up and look freshly washed, etc. So now I've got beautifully prepped clean hair. Now I want to add some, what I call some guts to this to accept the hot tool. So I need to add 2 things. Heat protection to protect the hair, and obviously also hold as well. Really, really important. We want that hold as a hairdresser or a consumer. It's the #1 thing we're always worried about is you can curl your hair and you just don't want to see it drop out. You want that instant gratification from it. So good practice, always sectioning the hair off, even to apply products. So I'm going to use a couple of different products through here. The first one I'm going to actually use, I love this for iron work, Beach Day. Now this is a natural texturizing spray that has a mild sulfate in there, obviously, because we're mimicking what salt water does to the hair when you've been through the beach and been swimming. And I'm just going to apply this very, very light dusting. So I'm not saturating the hair. And with this, I'm going to use a hairdryer, and I would then just pat this through. I'm going to say I'm keeping the hairdryer off for today's purposes. And I would literally make sure, even with a nozzle on, the direction piece is that I'm pushing that nozzle down the hair shaft. I'm never coming into the hair with the hairdryer this way. Okay, I'm always going to take it with the direction the way the cuticles of the hair grow and moving it down the hair, holding that in my hands to make sure I've got the control of the hair. I'm not losing it. Okay, it's very important that we control the hair doesn't control us. So even with that little bit of spritz in, it dries off super, super quick, but that's already, I can feel, has added a really nice tooth to the hair. The section above, I'm going to use a slightly different product, just for something different. I want to just show you the difference in the hold. And this one is Booster Spray. Now, Booster Volumizing Spray is designed to go, as hairdressers, to go in wet hair. And this is how you would use it for if you're a consumer. It's a very light, weightless volumizing spray that you must put in wet hair and blow dry it through. But for us professionals, when we use it backstage, this I find when I just dust it in to dry hair, once again, using a cool shot on the hairdryer, drying that off, that's a really, really great tooth. It's got a little bit more hold into it. I'm going to just section that out of the way, brush it through, just as I would mimic it as I'm using it with a hairdryer. This is very, very important that we make sure we always keep this roots to ends in that direction. You definitely don't want to blast this. That's what I'm saying, more for the professional, and let that dry off. And that has a much tackier feel on dry hair as opposed to the Beach Day. So once again, very, very easy for use for consumers. Beach Day, very, very simple to use on that. So I could lay in a little bit more Beach Day over the top if I want a little bit more hold. But I found at the moment, for me personally, after I've just dried that through a little bit, using our RePlay hairspray, because this is just fantastic. It's flexible, brushable, workable, and I can just use a lot of it and layer it in. Just a dusting of this. Once again, adding a little bit more heat protection. As you can see through here, I come in both sides. Now let's just see what that gives us. I'm using our Unite curling wand with the largest barrel on there. And this is just a simple flat wind around the barrel. Now, if I wanted to add texture, I can move that wand up and down. Once again, I think that's more of the professional's technique, just to add soft texture to it. But you can instantly see, in comparison to the other side, Wow, just look, the hold factor of that, so much greater. You have a much stronger ribbon effect and a lot more bounce in the hair. And what you find is with that Beach Day in there, there is a very, very slight crispiness to the hair and the hairspray, but as you can just feel the strength in that, and that's got great curl retention. If you want to make it curlier, it doesn't really, you know, it's much easier. So a little tip for you through here, wrap that hair once again. I'm going to wrap it around. I'll move the mannequin around just so the cameraman can zoom in a little bit. And instead of letting the hair drop, I just let that fall into my hand. Let's move Debbie round for you. So I let that, just say, let it fall into my hand. And just like you would do a pin curl, let that sit closer to the head and just pin it and let that set. That's great. Now let's have a look at comparison-wise with the booster spray. Now this feels tacky. Now the thing I must stress about this is that it never feels great when you're doing this with booster spray. As I say, it's aimed much more at the professional. It's one of my #1 techniques for when we're prepping hair backstage, but I used to do this all the time for bridal work, hair that I'm putting up in the salon, etc., purely because I want that hair to last and have really, really great curl retention. Once again, I can come back in with a little bit of RePlay if I so wish. I'm never going to do it any harm whatsoever. Now, booster, out of interest, depending on the porosity value of the hair, by that I mean how much that hair has been chemically treated with colour, etc., I would apply more if this hair is heavily bleached, pre-lightened, etc., compromised hair, because you are going to add greater protection and greater hold with it as well. So with that combination of those products, let's just see. So same technique, I'm just flat wrapping this around on this section, and I'll do a slightly different technique on the next one in front. I really do lock that iron in. I'll just drop my arm if I can. You can see that, hopefully, on the camera, quite close to the root base. You can do, come in, blow it, put a little bit of cold air in there. Don't be frightened of that. It's just enough to help it set. You can clip it or use that cold air. Now you can see the curl retention in comparison to what we've got. Beach Day underneath, just a small amount, combination of booster and hairspray. Much greater curl retention. You can see a similar length of hair. I know it's further up the head, but you can see through here the comparisons, like the droppage of what we've got. So that just shows you like the differences in the product choice will greatly affect your result. So let's come in and use one more. I'm going to use a slightly different hairspray. I'm going to use our Max Control on that front piece. I do want to show you options. Max Control is a firm hold hairspray. Very much, for consumer-wise, is very much your everyday hairspray that has great hold, heat protection as well. But it was up until we brought out RePlay, it was my #1 for setting hair as well. So I always like to, if we've got, say, a hairspray that acts like this, once again, always working roots to ends, helping distribute product, but making sure we're closing cuticle. Very important, because it adds to that final result. So a slightly different curl on this one. I'm going to see if I can get out of the way for you. I'll come over this side, which should be better. My cameraman, or I'm ably assisted, he's off camera. He's going to, he can throw questions at me. So anyone who's got any questions, please put them in the chat. I will endeavour to ask anything you wish. It doesn't always have to be about what we're doing today on the live. It can be upcoming ones you've seen before, anything to do with product, career, whatever you like, ask away. Don't be shy. No one's going to see you. That is the beauty of these lives. So from this, I now come in, I introduce the iron to that root base, and I do the twist, and the flat wrap stays underneath, and I twist over the top. So it's adding a slightly different and a stronger curl to it. Now what I do is I pull that iron up to the horizontal of the head. Unlock that. And then we can pin that in place to let that cool down. So another little tip for you on that as well. Differences. Now let's have a little pull out of what we've done already. Well, we've curled that one down. Multiple ways of dressing out as well. Anyone who's interested in these sort of techniques, I thoroughly recommend you tune into Unite Hair TV. Sign up. I've got a whole family of videos all about curling hair and all these multiple techniques. I think you would really enjoy them, especially anyone new at the beginning of their career. I mean, they're aimed at, you know, every level of hairdresser, but the good thing in there's some really classic techniques and also some modern sort of like versions of them. A little bit of avant-garde hair as well. So we've got a real big cross section, but it also gives you in-depth product usage as well of what we're using to achieve those. So recommend go to unitehair.com, sign up to Unite Hair TV. You'll get access to all those videos. They live in the Curl It series. We have another one called Style It and we have another one called Cut It. So obviously you're seeing styling videos, cut it videos, and they are being updated continuously and we're always in here filming. So you've got a constant educational source just through the website. So let's have a look at those comparisons. So here you can see the softer curl on the underneath, that which is Beach Day on its own with a little bit of hairspray. You've got the pin curl underneath, greater curl retention. And then you have the booster spray above with hairspray. And wow, look at that, it's got so much more pop on there as well. You can see through here, just the lift you have got. And putting that in comparison, as I said, side by side with hair that hasn't had any prep on there whatsoever. Prep I mean by product usage. Yeah, it's got a soft wave, but mannequin hair will hold a little bit. But in comparison to this side, you can see I have the same iron used, same techniques, but comparison-wise, night and day difference. So that is why we're using multiple products to enhance what we're doing. It makes our job easier. And I think that's really important, is that we've had this as one of our mottos at Unite for so long. We want to make the hairdresser's life easier. And how that relates to when we're using products is that we don't want to give you a product that is hard to use and make your life harder. Okay, so what I'm hoping going to show you today as well with the blending is that how I'm using them is just very, very straightforward, and you're not then going to run into what I call those, oh my God moments. What do I do now? I've either put too much on, I don't know how to rescue this, because the worst thing you can have in a salon is that you feel like you've saturated the hair in too much product, you can't work with it, and then you have to go and wash the client's hair again. You've cut down all that time. We don't want to ever achieve that. It would be very, very hard with our product line to do that, because you're going to be quite surprised by what I'm going to do a bit later on as well while we're into this. This is the, going back to our final curl through here. It's got a huge amount of hold in that now. So I'm just going to brush this through. And this brings out much more of a finger wave, Hollywood wave type curl on there. Massive amount of retention. It's got quite a cool little 70s vibe going on as well. So that was our twist and flat wrap curl. But as you can see, in comparison to the other side, we have a lot more curl retention. So to finish this off, our final part of blending, what do we want to put in there? You know, what do we want to use to define it? Got lots of different alternatives. I'm going to just show you just a couple briefly. First, I want to come in with maybe a Texturizer finishing foam. Now, most people would be scared about this because very, very different product. And usages for a consumer and a professional, I think, just differ slightly. Application-wise, I'm only using a small amount, so I'm only working on that side. Double that probably for a full head initially. So it's a texturizing product, but dries off very, very quickly. So you just put some in your hands and just immerse that through. So I've used a small amount of Unite finishing foam, the texturizing finishing foam. just applied into hands, and I'm just going to apply that into her root base. This is my tip for stylists to use it, because I think it's really, really nice to build style up and then just drag your hands through. But for a consumer, much easier just to drag that through into the ends, just to create a soft texture and piecey effect. My other number one for that is Second Day. Second Day, self-explanatory. It's a styling cream that gives your hair a lived-in second day appearance. You think when you take it out of the puck that it will feel like slightly oily, etc. But don't worry about that. It dries off into what I call like a semi-matte workable texture extremely quickly. And it just gives you very, very soft separation on the hair. Very, very nice pieciness feel to it. You just drag that through. A lot of people like their hair the second day after they've washed it. It just gives you great separation in the hair. So there's my beginning of our blending for curls, etc. Just a couple of tips. There's multiple other ones of those, and so they live in that Curl It series that you can see when you come onto our TV. So here's one I have prepped previously, just to give you a really nice smooth look. Don't worry about the paper if you're well, I think it's tissue paper, etc. That is Barber's crepe paper that we will use that backstage just to guard makeup people, but it also just allows you to flat wrap hair to the head, create beautiful center partings, as you can see through here. And now we're going to look at what we're going to need to achieve to create really, really nice, glassy, smooth hair. Combinations of two. Let me just clean my hands off. The beauty of Unite products, as well, as you well know if you've been using them regularly, is that the residue you get left on your hands is extremely minimal. And that's because that makes them just so much easier to work with. It's a big favourite of mine, is that I can use so much and my hands are not caked in product. Because as we know, then there's no big fatty parabens in them. Being a paraben is like a heavyweight waxy substance. So they're free of parabens. We have natural preservatives that makes all the products really, really nice and lightweight. So let's smooth out the ends of this. Let's get a glass-like finish on the ends. What am I going to use? Well, let's have a look at combinations. I'm going to use a Unite flat iron. Heat-wise, it's up to the highest one, so I want to do this very, very quickly. So to create glass-like finishes, I've got, once again, combinations to use. But I'm going to start off with the argan oil through here. Just a small amount, application-wise, because I'm only using a small section, into the palm of the hand. Just a small amount. And I'm going to drag that through mid-lengths and ends. Okay, you see that? Palms of the hand, mid-lengths and ends. That's all. Tiny amount, because you're not looking to coat the hair with an oil. You're coming in with an iron. Once again, I always like to come through, give it a little brush or a comb, just to make sure it's distributed really, really well. It does help the product work through the hair. It's very, very important that your distribution's got to be even. And over the top, I'm going to use our glossing spray. Okay, lightweight thermal protectorant, real lovely satin sheen. It's not heavy, it's not greasy. A lot of people use glossing sprays, find it's a little bit too heavy. But with ours, beautiful. It's extremely lightweight, very, very user friendly. So section wise, it always matches the size of plate I'm using. And with the comb, just working that iron all the way through, nice and methodically. It's very, very important that we understand that the angle that the iron goes in. So I don't come into the hair and clamp it straight away, because I will get a crease mark on there. So I come in and it's perpendicular to the hair and the section as much as I can make it. And that just runs all the way through mid-lengths to ends. Okay, that's one section done. Let's have a little look at another type. I've got a question come in there. Someone's asking, would that fry the hair if you're using an oil? Well, if you saturate the hair with an oil, then you would have a tendency to do that. But, you know, our oils are very, very lightweight. They dry off extremely quickly. So having that combination of application, combing it through, that's ample time for you to use. So now I'm going to use a little bit of hairspray. I'll come in and use our RePlay root base. Down to the ends. It's going to give me a slightly different feel when I do this. You're going to find you're going to have much more hold on there. But once again, application-wise of the product and how you use the tool becomes paramount. It's much, much quicker. Okay, I tap the iron on and work the iron through very, very quickly. And then I'll come in afterwards with the glossing spray, directing it roots to ends. Once I've applied that, back of the comb works really, really well. And just binding that hair together, making it a really nice, smooth as silk finish. And then what I'm going to do for this final piece, where it's thicker, I'm going to use a little bit of one of my favourites, Blow and Set Lotion. Now this has got a really great high shine content, but it's made and designed to go into wet hair. So argument's sake, we could say this hair's damp or it's been dried off, but I'm only going to use a small amount for this section. I'm applying that to the root base through here. I would come in, brushing that down. And let's get the hairdryer on that. And give it some heat because it's heat activated. Plug in my dryer. So excuse the noise, just very, very briefly. I just want to show you how to do this. That's all it needs is to dry that off super, super quick. It's already drying off. And I would hold that with a clip. Ideally, you would have with the no crease clips. And then come over the top with a bit of hairspray. Once again, using our RePlay. Back in with a hairdryer. For this, I need the nozzle on. So I'd have high heat, low speed. So you just come in, you just layer this up just a few more times. A little bit more hairspray. So this is the start of what I'm going to be using quite a bit of hairspray and a couple of different techniques for you. Always working roots to ends, nozzle pointing, roots to ends. And what that you'll start seeing that do is it starts developing a huge shine factor on that root base, that combination of blow and set over the top, and then the hairspray has a really, really nice shine factor through here, but quite soft. Once again, very, very brushable. And then on the other side, I want to give you something a little bit stronger. Okay, this is a great technique. Very much aimed at the professional, but you know, if you're an adventurous client, by all means, feel free. So I'm going to be using Expander Volume. This is a root energizer, very, very strong. It's got a huge amount of hold to it. So using this as our prepping tool, stage one of styling the hair. So I'm going to come through reasonably close to the head. And as you can see, very, very short bursts I'm using on there. Working that through on the head. Let's force this hair to move away from the face. We'll use some clips always to help us out. If you have an assistant with you in a salon, get them to do this. So once it's gone in, you want to come in very, very quickly with a hairdryer. Dries off extremely quickly. It's designed to go in wet hair and to be blow dried. What you find is, once you've used that, you come in with our strongest hairspray, Session Max. Now this is that hairspray that I always used to say is that you put that on your bride, it's going to stay in there long after she gets back from her honeymoon and she's had 3 kids, etc. It's still not going to have moved. You know, this is your #1 super strong hairspray. Really freezes it in. But there's different ways of using it. Instead of using it conventionally, like spraying it all over the place, I think with Session Max, my tip is to come in and just use it more like a direction and go in gently with certain places. But for this, we come in and we layer it in and we start creating like a shellac on the actual hair. So this is where our blending really starts to take place. And it's the combination of using our root energizer and a hairspray together that really creates a super hold and a great, great shine. So don't be worried that this makes the hair look a little bit wet. What you're going to do, you're going to comb that hair into place wherever you want it to be. If you get gaps in the hair, like I would do up here where I'll separate, you just come over with the back of your comb and just work that through. Straight in with a hairdryer. Dries off super quickly because it's a hairspray. That is already dry to the touch, but hopefully you can see through here as an amazing gloss starting to appear on that. Now my other #1 option for this, funny enough, Smooth and Shine with Session Max. A slightly different feel to the hair, but exactly the same result. Beautiful for doing finger waves over dry hair. Just using some of this in, but with a combination of the hairspray, you get great hold with a softness. Okay, so obviously you're applying, you know, a reasonable amount of this into the hair, but don't let that put you off. If you're doing something that you want a really great slick on, be it a ponytail or something like that, my #1 for that obviously is still going to be the expander volume for using on ponytails. Just literally apply that all around just the root base. I might be able to do one for you very, very quickly on my previous model. So let's pull her up because I think it's definitely worth showing people that. Sometimes they get a little bit carried away. So back to our previous model. Ponytails have always been problematic to hairdressers, especially when the beginning of their career. You know, there is certainly some that you can think, oh, you know, I don't have to have them that tight. But for bridal, etc., you always want to make sure they look immaculate. And, you know, anyone who lives in sort of like windier climes where the brides are and you're putting the hair up, you need these ponytails to really secure themselves. By that, I mean, you know, wherever you position them on the head, if they're in there for quite a long part of the day, if they're not secure, they have a tendency then to sag. And so you as a hairdresser, you don't want to think, I'll put my ponytail in there, and by the time you see the pictures of the bride later on in the day, your ponytail drop to there. You will be looking at that and you won't be pleased. The client may not have realised it all, but when that hair tends to sag is that you just think, oh, you haven't secured that in properly enough. So let's cure that problem just show you the amount we're going to use. Once again, this is all about layering and blending and the applications. So we use Root Energizer. And as you can see through here, I don't use a lot. I just come in very, very lightly around the root base. And the beauty of this, it dries off so quickly. I'm not worried about soaking the hair. And there is a really nice byproduct of this, of when it dries off, is that when you let the hair down, you have a huge amount of volume on the root base because it's all been pulled back with this in there. So I'm not worried about the fringe. We can let some of that fall out. And what this does, using that Root Energizer, it helps me gather all the hair up very, very quickly and efficiently. Pull it away from the face and make sure it hugs the head shape, which is very, very important. If you've got problematic hair, as in like there's lots of growth patterns on there, well, that's simple to deal with. Just use a little bit more of the product and go through the hair a little bit more with care and methodically, and blow dry it into the position where you want that ponytail to be. A lot of hairdressers don't realize that. You can just blow dry that root base into the position, as I said before, of where you want that ponytail to go. And that will just make your life a lot easier when you go to secure it. You're not going to have lots of those sort of like ridges appearing, etc., that drive us mad. But I'm going to show you a little tip to get rid of those anyway. So I'm using a bungee cord on one of these, if anyone's interested. This is just an elastic cord and it has 2 hooks on there. I'll just show you on there on the camera. There you go. Someone wants to know where you would find these. You can order these online. You can find them on anything on Amazon, etc. right now. And there you go. You just got a really, really nice secured ponytail. All the hair is being pulled back. I'm going to come in a bit of Max Control hairspray over the top. Just to secure it. Now let's say, argument's sake, we're not 100% happy with that. We see little ridges in the hair. We want to eradicate those. Very, very simple. Just come in with your tail comb, go to the front of the head and just run it back in the direction of where the ponytail is secured. There you go. And that will just eradicate all your ridges out of there for you. Taking a section from the underneath, that's enough to cover our elastic up. So this hair may finish on the top, but that piece through here, if I just move that to the side, is too fine to secure that. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to secure that on the underneath first, just with bobby pin, Kirby grip, whatever you want to call it. Just one of those is sufficient. That will grab hold of that hair, secure that underneath, and then all you've got to do is then finish off that piece with a little bit of hairspray. Once again, control, small amount. Give yourself a bit of help with a bit of a hair dryer. If need be, just come in and use a little bit more. I'm using a play, but if you had stubborn hair, well, of course, go back and use a bit of Session Max. Never going to do any harm. Consequently, you know, you don't want to come in and be crazy with hairspray. Short little dusting squirts of that. Once again, with back of the comb, just run that over the spray. That will be enough to lock that in and dry it off while it's still wet. Once again, lock it into the hairdryer. And that'll be enough there to hold it in, make it really nice and neat. So then let's have a look at the ends where they've got all that waviness. let's do a bit of blending on this, shall we? So we want to have some separation, but we certainly want to have a little bit of volume to this. So I always like to think expander dust is going to give us our greatest amount of volume. There's another little pin on this just to make sure we don't have any stray hairs flying out for the finished look. So another application, we've already gone through the tapping motion. Well, when you're coming up this way, just squeeze and lift that ponytail up. Pop it accordingly. It's going to add some great texture and volume to it. I always say go for a heart shape on the back of it through here. It's always the most visually appealing shape. So your heart shape comes out through here. And then to top it off, a bit of texturizer spray. So not as strong as our expander dust, but I just think it just gives it a little something more to it. As you can see, short little squirts on there. If you so wish, you can just pull pieces of it out and just work it. I just think the added little tiny touch of moisture into this, or the spray, just adds some great pieciness. Just a really, really nice complement to the expander dust. So there you go, simple ponytail, very, very quick. As you see, like the actual combination of the root energizer around the root base, as you saw, I didn't use a lot. A little bit of hairspray over the top. And remember, this has gone over all of what we were doing earlier when we were curling the hair, which had a slightly, what I would call matter, more of a textured finish look to it. We've eradicated that. You know, if you want to add a little bit more, come back in after you've used the hairspray. A little bit of glossing spray. Once again, soft squirts. Don't come in and saturate it. Just apply little sweeping motions over the top just to dust it off. And there you have really, really great juxtaposition of texture and softness, and texture in the back and smoothness in the front. And let's just say a little trick for you. If you feel like you had too much, you went crazy with the expander, you put some in there. Well, it's very, very simple. Come back in with a little bit of glossing spray, dust it onto the hair, and what you'll find is that will just soften that dust down a little bit more, and you'll just be able to compact the hair a little bit. So always good to have a fail safe, but that's also the best way of using only small amounts and just building up into the hairstyle as opposed to using too much. But it's always great to have a fail safe. If you think you've used too much, it doesn't make the hair feel great. If the client says, oh, it makes my hair feel too stiff, etc., glossing spray is going to help you out immensely on that. So hopefully you enjoyed that one. I'm going to just do a very, very quick one because I want to touch on blending with some curly hair. We've got to use our Boing range. We have two applications on this. We've got Boing Defining Cream and Boing Moisture Curl Cream. Very, very simple. I've got some wavy hair I've already pre-done. How do I use this? Well, it's very much a bespoke way of doing it. So I'm going to start with our Defining Curl Cream. And for this hair that's quite sort of, you know, coarse, thick, etc., I'm just going to sort of use that amount. I'm going to put in an equal amount of the Moisture Curl Cream, which you can see different colour. It's white as opposed to the purple. There's no colorants in this. It won't hurt the hair whatsoever. And then I just distribute that in my hands, really emulsifying them together to blend them. Perfectly great. So you've got the real great moisturizing properties of the moisture, but you've got the whole properties of the define because of that hair type. And then I will come in and then I will place it into the hair. I don't scrunch it all in straight away because I think that will just put in too much product in one place. Lifting the hair up, I come in and I start placing and working that in, and then I start scrunching it onto the ends of the hair. Once I've done that and I've got some great curl out of it, diffuse it, then I can add more and more to it. So very, very simple application-wise of using the Boing Define Cream on what I would call, you know, soft, wavy hair. on really curly hair, same thing, but just rake it through with maybe a wide tooth comb like that, and we just pull it through just to give yourself some definition. You can quite easily curl the hair with your fingers, diffuse it. Great, good to go. So that was our live for today. As I say, it was a really brief introduction almost of how we like to blend our products. I hope you've enjoyed that. I'm really happy that we're actually seeing the audience here on Unite Hair on YouTube as well. As I say, come to our website, unitehair.com, sign up for a lot more there. So our next live is the Art of Consultation, and that is August the 30th. It's in 2 weeks. Once again, 10 a.m. Pacific time. You can sign up to that in advance. You make sure it's on the calendar and you'll get updates on that to let you know when it's going live. This is also recorded and you can find it on Unite Hair TV under live replay. Any questions you have, please, about this live or future ones or past on Unite TV, email unitetv@unitehair.com and follow us on Instagram at unite_hair TV. Thank you once again for joining me. I hope to see you all again in 2 weeks.